What's up, guys? I'm going to be going over my hormone panel with you guys to talk about what I found out from my first time ever drawing blood and getting things like testosterone, blood glucose levels, cholesterol, HGH, all of these cool hormones and different facets of the body tested out. I also got a food sensitivity test to find out not necessarily what my allergens are, because allergies are different than food sensitivities to my understanding, but more so just what my gut might be sensitive to and is this causing inflammation at this moment in time. So lots of really cool data that I'm going to be just sharing all this stuff with you guys. So that way you can see what a 27-year-old personal trainer and health coach, what his health metrics look like, and also some things that are good, some things that I want to work on and change, and what I'm doing to adjust those as well too. Before we dive in, I am planning at a later date a video with my nurse practitioner where he'll actually go over all the numbers with me and with you guys to like break down each individual hormone and what they mean and what they, just different markers in the body. So that way we'll be able to have a much more detailed explanation. But this is Patrick's simple explanation on what I learned through my first time doing blood work and going over it. And so you may have done blood work in the past. I was actually talking to some clients of mine, sharing this with them, and they said, man, you know what's crazy about that is I've done blood work so many times with my doctors, but they've never actually shared the results with me. They just kind of glance over it and tell me what to look out for, but they don't share the numbers, give me like a printout. And so that was one thing really, really cool about this blood work is, my guy Glenn went over everything with me. He's also a client of mine as well too. Runs a company called Infinity Functional Performance, I think is the name of it. And so with that, he's been doing this for a long time where he's just helping people out to be able to optimize their hormones. Some people, he goes more of like the hormone therapy option. So he does help people out with TRT, different peptides, different hormones, all of that fun stuff. But he's also a huge fan of, how can we do this naturally? He's a huge proponent of gut health and fixing the gut biome to be able to help out a lot of things to move smoother before ever adding in any exogenous hormones. So my type of guy, right, who is really going after the natural stuff. I do believe God made our bodies intelligently, and so there's a lot that we can do in the natural sense to be able to improve these functions. I am not by any means someone who is anti steroids or testosterone or performance enhancing drugs or hormone therapy or even weight loss surgery and these other interventions. I will say that we are very early in their application where we've seen, real foods being eaten for thousands of years, being able to lead to a long, healthy life. These are all newer interventions in the past 50, 60 years or so. So I just think we need more time and data to get more definitive, answers on what works and what doesn't. But this is an age, this is the Renaissance age in the health industry to where people are able to, choose, do I want to, use exogenous hormones like testosterone to, help me out in getting leaner and stronger, or you can choose, do I want to go, just with the lifestyle, or do I want to combine everything, which to be honest, not one of these things is going to help you out and get all the solutions. So I'm opting for the natural route right now as my just diving into everything. I feel pretty good. I know everyone's curious about what my testosterone levels are. So if I scroll down here, and I'll see if I can share some of these on the screen with you guys at a later point in time. But my testosterone numbers, which was the big one I was curious in, and I bet a lot of guys are, is my total testosterone was 738. If you are a male, the ranges are 280 to 1100. So 738, I felt pretty good on that. No real issues at all there. My free testosterone is 17.0. And so my testosterone's in a good place, and I really attribute this specifically to me getting almost every night 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I really prioritize my sleep and my rest, and I think that's a big reason why my testosterone is as high as it is. right now. I don't think if I didn't rest as much as I did, that would be, something that would, be is at a solid level. Even working out, there's guys who work out consistently and their testosterone's tanked. So my testosterone's doing pretty good. The biggest things that, stood out to me specifically on the blood panel, and I'll go into the food sensitivities after that, would be 4 different ones. The very first one is my resting glucose. My fasted glucose was 102 when the regular ranges would be 65 to 100. So I'm curious to see what it would look like to get that fasted glucose level a little bit lower, as that average or the range that I was told that we want to keep it in is usually 65 to 100. I'm at 102, so nothing crazy, but just something to look at and pay attention to. And another one would be my LDL cholesterol was at 118 when typically you want it to be below 100. So these are things to where if I would be living the lifestyle that I'm living right now over 10, 20 years, could cause a little bit of some issues. Another one as well too that came into concern for me personally was my A1C levels. My A1C was at, I want to say, 5.6. And so with that, let me just type in A1C. I'm trying to find it here on the computer. I think my A1C was at 5.6. Yeah, 5.6, and pre-diabetic zone is 5.7. Sheesh. That's a wake-up call, guys. That's like something to where, and I don't know everything about all of these. Someone could come in the comments on this and tell me, well, actually, Patrick, high cholesterol and A1C doesn't mean what it used to be. And I'd be open to that conversation because I've seen a lot of things on cholesterol, not being as bad as we used to talk about it, right? And as an athlete who uses a lot of carbs, I'm not super concerned that my glucose is super high. None of these things are, like life and death, but they're just like things to think about a little bit, right? If I'm preaching health and, somebody who's saying, hey, we want to be able to, just feel our absolute best and honor our body as the temple of God and really look at what does it look like to take care of this body and love it like Jesus loves it, right? I would just want to look at, okay, well, how can I get some of these things into more of the natural ranges that when a very healthy body is just resting, this is where it should be at. And so the biggest things for me were my cholesterol, LDL was a little bit high, my resting glucose a little bit high, my A1C is almost pre-diabetic zone, which is crazy to me. And then third and fourth would be my vitamin B levels were pretty low, not in the best range, kind of in the lower end. And my vitamin D3 was like a 32, and the ranges are like, where most people want it is like 80 to 100. So I started to supplement with 3 things after this. The first one being vitamin D3, 10,000 IUs a day. Then I'm taking a B12 time-released supplement. I don't know the dosage on that. And I'm also adding back in fish oil because I just really enjoy the fish oil. I feel an overall better sensation in my joints, my skin, and just general everything feels better. It's not like a major mover, but definitely helps. And guys, with the vitamin D3 and B12s, immediately my energy has shot up. Shot up immediately taking those. Like it feels like I have too much energy at the end of the day sometimes when I take those. So that's been really good just to feel that immediate change. And I wouldn't have been, making that change if I didn't know that my levels were low. Yeah, my D3 was 32 and the healthy range is 30 to 100 and you want to be a little bit over 80 for some of those health benefits. So those are my initial goals. And again, this is something I'm likely going to do almost every year, is I want to see what happens if I make a couple changes in my diet to bring my cholesterol levels down and to bring my A1C down and to bring my resting glucose down while supplementing with B12 and vitamin D3 to increase my, my levels there. Another thing that I do want to focus on is my testosterone being at 736 is really, really good. But Glenn had mentioned to me, and I don't want to, misquote him, but I believe it was either colon cancer or what's the butt cancer? Rectal cancer? Rectum cancer? Prostate cancer. Is decreased dramatically when guys have over 800 testosterone. So in my personal family history, both of my parents had cancer in their 50s. And so my dad got colon cancer, my mom got skin cancer, my grandfather died of cancer like in his 60s, like mid 60s. This was about 2 years ago. Maybe 3 years ago. And then I remember my grandmother on my dad's side didn't have any legs because her legs got chopped off from diabetes. So she was always in a wheelchair. And so these are things I'm thinking about as I'm looking at this, right? I'm 27 years old. I'm young right now. My body, I'm squatting the most I've ever squatted. I'm married to an amazing wife. Like, there's no issues in the bedroom or in the sex life there. Like, things are phenomenal. But there's things that I just want to more so change for health benefits later on. So all of these changes aren't necessarily to, optimize my testosterone for the common things, which is like sexual optimization in the bedroom, for married couples, and then also, to be able to be stronger in the gym. That's already happening through my diet and my training. What I'm looking at here is how can I bring my cancer levels or my risk of cancer lower? And also how can I, make sure that I'm not knocking on the door of the pre-diabetes zone. So let's talk about how I'm actually going to be doing that. So that's it for the blood work. But what I did run is a food sensitivity test. And this is the crazy thing, man. This shocked me more than anything. I knew going into the blood panel work, I'm like, man, my testosterone is going to be relatively high. I think it's going to be about 750. I've got a feeling I'm low in vitamin D and B12 because everybody is. The cholesterol and the pre-diabetes did shock me a little bit. But I did do some blood work for life insurance a while back. And I think my A1C was the same level, 5.6. So not pre-diabetic, but on the cusp of it. But blood work, everything was like what I expected. What really shocked me, guys, was my food sensitivities. Okay, so you guys know me. I am the raw milk and honey. I love my steak. I post a lot of like more animal-based eating, and I do believe they are beneficial. But when I got my food sensitivities back, I am highly sensitive to egg yolks, egg whites, cow's milk, Emmental, which is a compound that's typically found in most cheeses. Let's see, I've got my computer in front of me, so I'm going through some of the other ones. Highly sensitive to wheat, which that was kind of to be expected. Gluten, I'm like in the mid-tier on sensitive to. I am pretty sensitive to malt and barley, which is like in beer. I'm very sensitive to almonds. Like that's almost the highest. My highest is actually egg yolks and egg whites, which I have eggs like every day, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 eggs a day. So meat, I'm totally good on every single meat. It's fine for my body. Vegetables, all good there. Fruit, everything but pineapple. I have a slight irritation with pineapple, which this is understandable because when I would eat pineapple, my lips would actually like kind of tingle a little bit. Nothing crazy, but my face would get red around here. Same thing with eggs and egg whites. I remember being in the Bali time chamber this June and so many things got removed from the diet there. I was really just eating meat, rice, potatoes, fish, and eggs, and like cappuccinos. That was it. And what I noticed is when my diet got and fruit juice, fresh juice, and vegetables as well too. But when I was there, eggs would start to like irritate my skin when I would eat them first thing in the morning. And so I stopped eating them there. And I came back here to the States and I just kind of got back into my routine and I add eggs to my shakes. I cook them up. I do a lot of stuff, but my body is the most irritated with eggs. And the very last one, which was so surprising, guys, is honey. Honey, I have a high food sensitivity to. And so eggs, cow's milk, and honey. 3 things that I live off of. I tell all my clients to like go get your raw milk, your fresh cage-free eggs, and some local honey. But my body is sensitive to it right now. So what's my game plan with this? Well, with food sensitivities, what I've learned so far, and really just more an intuitive place, I really do believe that more of an annual alternating diet is very beneficial for people. And so what do I mean by that? I mean, like rotating your meats, going from beef to buffalo to lamb to chicken to turkey to fish, and not always eating the exact same, cuts of meat or animals every single day. With your vegetables, there's different vegetables and fruits that are in season at different times. So, eating apples when they're in season, eating strawberries when they're in season, eating bananas when they're in season, eating pumpkin and squash when it's in season. So I think the way that the world's designed is we're really called to, have more of that rotating diet, right? The summertime, in fall, there's the harvest, right? In the winter time, it's like there's no crops, so you're probably going to be eating more animal-based, food. So I think naturally the body's made to rotate, but we don't do that. So my initial thoughts is I do not think honey, eggs, and cow's milk are bad and off the limits forever. But what I am doing going into this next month is I am going to be doing an elimination diet to where I'm removing everything that is highly inflammatory for me. I'd originally planned on doing World Carnivore Month this month, but I told myself when getting this blood panel that if my holy trinity of food when I was doing Carnivore Month was beef, honey, and raw milk. And I said, if any of those three are off limits for Carnivore Month, I'm not going to do it because I would be taking out a really valuable macronutrient such as carbohydrates or protein or fats when removing those. And so 2 out of those 3 are off the limits for this month. So I'm not going to be doing World Carnivore Month this month. I will be eating lots of meat still and definitely enjoying that, but I am going to be changing up my nutrition. So here's my walk away strategy for nutrition and what I'm going to be focusing on doing there. First and foremost, no eggs, no honey, no cow's milk. And then no wheat and gluten. And also, I don't really eat pineapple or almonds, but those are the big ones that were inflammatory on there too. And no cheeses at this point in time. So what am I going to be doing instead? My goat milk and goat cheese was actually very, very low. So I'm only going to be consuming dairy at home, and I'm going to have goat's milk and goat cheese to be able to help supplement in calories, because I'm also squatting 4 days a week right now and training 5 to 6 days a week. So I need calories. This isn't a time to like completely starve myself with calories, but dairy helps me to get in those extra calories. So I'm only going to be having dairy at home, and when I can make sure that it's something that my body, according to these tests, is not super overly sensitive to. I am going to substitute my morning eggs with lentils. And normally my breakfast in the morning would be 3 to 4 eggs and then a Greek yogurt and orange juice smoothie where I would also add in salt. So I just blend it up in the blender, those 3 ingredients, and I would sometimes add honey to it to make it a little sweeter and add some extra carbs for the day for training. So that breakfast was super inflammatory for me, according to these tests. And again, these are tests. They could be, completely wrong, and I come back and I'm like, it's the exact same, I don't have any issues. But I'm changing these up because I've also had major rashes in the past. I'll add some pictures here, but I have like some crop circles appearing on my neck and my face. At one point I thought I had like ringworm. I did have ringworm at one point, but they gave me antibiotics for a fungal infection. And then like I shaved my head to try to get these spots off because I thought it was ringworm, and I had to like put the medication on my head. So many different things. And I've had skin issues, for the past 6-7 years. And that's what got me into fasting, into ketogenic, into the carnivore diet, into GAPS diet, into so many like low inflammation diets. And so I still get some itches from time to time, nowhere near as much as I used to have when these flare-ups happened like 5-6 years ago. But I want to make sure that I do my best to get rid of that, because the skin tells so much. The skin is always going to talk to you. Your skin is your largest organ, and it gets feedback from everything that you put into your body. So I'm going to be limiting these to make sure and see what's possible inside my body when it's not inflamed from these things that this test is telling me is highly inflammatory. I'm replacing my eggs and orange juice and Greek yogurt breakfast with I'm doing a can of lentils. I'll probably end up meal prepping lentils later on, but I just buy the cans because they're easy right now. Lentils are a great carbohydrate source. They have fiber and they have protein in them. So I'm doing lentils, and then I'll cook about 6 to 8 ounces of ground beef and mix that in for like a little stew. It's the winter time, so it's nice and warming in the morning too, and it takes just 8 minutes, 10 minutes to cook. Especially I've been buying my ground beef from the farmer's market, and they sell it in 1 pound packages. So with that, I can just, open one up, make some for me, make some for my wife, and then get going. So breakfast is typically going to be that. My second meal of the day, I'm looking at, first meal of the day, even before that, I'm looking at replacing that orange juice and Greek yogurt drink with something just similar, probably I'm not going to be doing any whey protein this month. I do think whey protein is a superior product, but I'm going to be doing a protein powder with coconut milk and then bananas and berries. I might add in a little bit of peanut butter or something there for some extra calories. And I'll throw in some salt as well too, and probably a vanilla or a chocolate pea protein. Again, I think whey is better, but I'm just taking a step back from cow's milk-based products. There are goat whey. I haven't explored that. That could be something I've seen people do that would be enjoyable. But the intention over this next month is just to take a step away from these foods. So that'll be my first meal of the day, probably 300 to 500 calories, depending on if I add peanut butter into it. Then second meal is going to be lentils and ground beef. So that'll typically be about 10, 11 a.m. That first one will be right when I wake up, 7 or 8 or 6 o'clock, just somewhere in that range, depending on my appointments for the day. Then going into lunch is pretty flexible, but it's typically going to have rice and some sort of meat. So chicken, beef, whatever it might be. I like for that meal to usually be a whiter meat, so that way it's rotating and not just always being red meat, because I'll eat red meat every day for every meal if I could. Fish is going to be great here, but my wife's allergic to fish, so I don't cook a lot at home, but if I go out to eat, I'll have that. But rice, meat, and then a vegetable or some sort of bean or something like that in there to add a little bit of extra fiber. And then dinner time is always a toss-up, but typically I like to go potatoes and some form of meat at dinner time. So I love roasting sweet potatoes or regular potatoes in the air fryer and then cooking up steak, burger patties, anything like that is typically what I'll have. And those will be my 4 square meals, and I'll be snacking on things like dates, bananas and apples in between throughout the day. I'm roughly gonna be eating 3,000, 3,250 calories a day. I am going to be tracking my calories throughout this time, because in an elimination diet, it's very easy to undereat, right? So I'm going to be making sure I get in enough calories. So it'll be some work for sure. But I'm excited to see how my body performs through this. What I'll also be doing as well too is a 3-day fast. And this is different than what I've done in the past, where I've kind of strictly, especially after I became a Christian, used fasting from more of a spiritual sense to connect into deeper purpose with God and get rid of distractions. That's definitely going to be an added benefit, and by no means am I against that throughout this. But this is one of the first times I'm actually just beginning to fast for my health. This is what I'm going to be doing is working through a 3-day fast every month is the intention. To lower those cholesterol levels, resting glucose, and also just give my gut a little bit of time to reset. So fasting is phenomenal for a lot of different properties, but it's especially helpful during an elimination diet period to reduce inflammation in the gut and just help smooth out the overall process, get into autophagy, some cellular recycling, getting things working in there a little bit more. So that's my overall game plan. I'm swapping out, the milk, cow's milk with goat's milk. One thing that's fascinating though on this test that I do want to point out is that it didn't test the difference between pasteurized milk and raw milk, non-pasteurized, non-homogenized. So I do think there's a conversation there on which could be, you know, if one is going to inflame higher. But if regular cow's milk is, you know, 5 times the amount of like irritation than like everything else in my diet, I think that potentially the raw milk will still have some sort of level on there. That's just my personal take, but I'm gonna take a break on this. My goal is to be able to come back to cow's milk and honey and see if I feel really good on those. And so what I'm gonna be looking for is when coming back after January, I'll be trying out, you know, one of these things for a week, having it 3 or 4 times and seeing how my body responds. I'm gonna be looking to see if my skin breaks out in red marks or itchiness. I'm also gonna be seeing how my gut feels and how the digestion of that feels, gas, as well as bloating and energy levels. So I'm gonna be looking at those 5 things when reintroducing foods back after this elimination diet. I'm probably gonna start first with raw cow's milk or Greek yogurt because that's such an essential part of my diet. And it's got a much lower inflammation level than the egg whites and the egg yolks do on this graph. It's about half of that. So cow's raw milk and Greek yogurt for me are much more of a valuable nutrient because of the calorie density than eggs or honey at this moment in time. So those will be the first things that I reintroduce back, and I'll just take it 1 week at a time and see what all this does. But you know, this is fascinating for me because I've never done anything like this before, and now I'm going from the guy who's smashing eggs in the morning and drinking a ton of cow's milk to pulling back on dairy and trying to lower my cholesterol. And again, there's conversations on whether that's, you know, a bad thing that my cholesterol was higher like that or if it doesn't even matter. But what I'm doing here is just simply practicing being humble and saying I don't have all the answers, but I'm gonna look at what this resource here is gonna help me out with and see how I'm gonna feel in a year doing this. And again, the primary goals, guys, are just to lower my overall risk of cancer and diabetes and keep this body ticking till I'm over 100 years old, because I'm here to reclaim health and change how we as Christians do health in this world. Here to reform. I want to see centurions. I want to see, you know, you guys living to 100 plus and being with your family for years to come, and myself included. I've got, you know, future kids, nieces, nephews, wife, family, parents, everybody, you guys that I got to be here for a long, long time, and we got to have fun while we do it too. So I'm going to be taking care of myself, making some of these adjustments, and see where we go from there. If you guys want to get your own blood work done, I do have a link, a referral code. It does give me a little kickback on the cash when you guys run through it, but you can go through the same person I do with Glenn with Infinity. He's amazing. He's a client of mine as well too, so I highly recommend him. He does telemedicine, over 1,500 clients all across the United States. Really, really good guy as well too. Awesome believer, father, just a cool dude. And so with that, if you guys want to get your blood work done, just drop a comment down below. Let me know. I'll also probably put somewhere in the links the code that you use to go ahead and access that. So hope this was helpful for you guys. Would love to hear what you think on some of the changes I'm making. Do you think it's crazy? Do you think it's smart? Do you think you just don't care? But let me know what you might have picked up from this video, and let me know your experience with blood work and how it's changed your life, or if you haven't done it and you want to do it. Appreciate you guys for tuning on into this one. I'll see you in the next one.